There could only be a handful of reasons why you're here. You either stumbled onto this video and was curious, someone shared it with you, and for this I thank them, or you have been actively seeking videos that do not align with the status quo. No matter the reason, I'm glad you're here. I have no political preference, nor do I have any nationalistic identity. I am only interested in sharing some of my mind through video, speech, and the internet. I thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy this film. This film is about coincidence.
Meine Arbeit für richtig hältst, ob du glaubst, dass ich fleißig gewesen bin, dass ich gearbeitet habe, dass ich mich in diesen Jahren für dich eingesetzt habe.
No matter who rules, right or left, war has been terrifying the world. War has ravaged on, no matter who rules. Is it a coincidence? Are we not tired? Are we not feeling helpless? Why do we go to war? Have you ever asked yourself, how are we so numb to the death of hundreds of thousands when in reality as an individual we would not dream of taking the life of anyone ourselves? This film is about coincidence. Our life seems fragmented, indifferent of others. We seem confused when faced with major events, yet overly sensitive to mundane occurrences such as a comment on social media. Our connection to our immediate surroundings has become a noise in the background of overstimulated minds detached from true emotion. Our empathy has turned to apathy. We live our day-to-day with little curiosity and questioning, a complete detachment from our nature. How did this come about? Is it all by design? We are on the verge of a global transformation. All we need is the right major crisis and the nations will accept the New World Order. David Rockefeller. A false flag is usually done by governments as covert operations designed to deceive its own population and other nations. False flag. Problem, reaction, solution, repeat. Conspiracy theory, a term used to discredit someone who doesn't conform to official narratives. Just 1 year after Kennedy's assassination in 1964, Congress authorized Lyndon Johnson to use any measures necessary, including armed forces, against the communist Vietnam. The US military faked an attack on itself in order to spur support of the American people to engage the war. Today it is known as a false flag, the Gulf of Tonkin incident. It was the sole reason Congress gave the okay for the war that would essentially kill 2 million civilians and take the lives of 57,000 American soldiers, all because of a lie. Throughout the 1950s and 60s, there were rumors of a secret CIA project involving drugs such as LSD for the purpose of mind control. It wasn't until 1975 that the issue would finally be raised by legitimate government positions such as Congress and, oddly enough, investigated by a commission called the Rockefellers. This project is known as MKUltra. Charles Manson is believed to have taken part in this experiment. It goes real deep. I won't get into it here. If you thought the United States defeated Nazi Germany and abolished most of the living Nazis when caught, think again. Not only did the United States allow high-ranking Nazis to live, but actually saved their lives and gave them some of the most secretive positions in the United States government. Look no further than Wernher von Braun, who pretty much founded NASA, while other Nazis are said to have helped create the CIA. From 1945, the United States secretly migrated 1,600 Nazi scientists. It has been said that if Werner von Braun was still alive, he'd be executed for war crimes.
The very word secrecy is repugnant in a free and open society, and we are, as a people, inherently and historically opposed to secret societies, to secret oaths, and to secret proceedings. We decided long ago that the dangers of excessive and unwarranted concealment of pertinent facts far outweighed the dangers which are cited to justify it. And there is very grave danger that an announced need for increased security will be seized upon by those anxious to expand its meaning to the very limits of official censorship and concealment. For we are opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence, on infiltration instead of invasion, on subversion instead of elections, on intimidation instead of free choice, on guerrillas by night instead of armies by day. It is a system which has conscripted vast human and material resources into the building of a tightly knit, highly efficient machine that combines military, diplomatic, intelligence, economic, scientific, and political operations. Its preparations are concealed, not published. Its mistakes are buried, not headlined. Its dissenters are silenced, not praised. No expenditure is questioned, no rumor is printed, no secret is revealed.
You're still asleep? Wake up!
We'll know our disinformation campaign is complete when everything the American public believes is false. William Casey, CIA Director, 1981. I want to share a very interesting social experiment with you. Scientists decided to put 5 monkeys in a cage, together with a ladder and bananas on top. Every time one of the monkeys went up to get a banana, the scientists would spray the rest of the monkeys with water. It didn't take very long for the monkeys to figure out that every time one of them went to get a banana, they would get sprayed with water. So from then on, every time a monkey tried to touch the bananas, he would get beat up by the rest of the monkeys to the point where the scientists didn't have to use a hose. They took out one monkey and brought in a new monkey. Naturally, he saw bananas, went straight for them, not knowing the consequences of the beating he's going to get as soon as he comes down. By the time the experiment ended, it was 5 new monkeys. None of them have ever seen a hose with water, and none of them could tell you why they can't touch the bananas. Do you recognize a pattern? Do you see how our life could be that way? Remember when I asked you why we go to war? Are we just used to seeing it on television, read about it in history books, watch it on movies in Hollywood? Are we pre-programmed to accept the killing of hundreds, if not millions of people? Are we just programmed? Do you want to kill anyone? Why don't we just entertain the notion that just a few people rule most of this world? That these same people decide if there is peace or if there is war. It is the same people who decide our financial freedoms by controlling markets, trade, and interest. They choose if our financial system is healthy or due to collapse. What if we entertain the idea that this group controls our media, our education, our healthcare system, our politicians, financial system, our police, our armies, and every fundamental building block of our society? Why is it so hard for people to believe that the ones who own the currency own the nation. It is well that the people of the nation do not understand our banking and monetary system, for if they did, I believe there would be a revolution before morning. Henry Ford.
It collapsed. The top floors collapsed down. I saw it blow and then ran like hell. Thank God. I'm 69, but I can still run. There's got to be firemen trapped back there, though.
The chief of the department yelled, "The tower has come down." It looked like nuclear cloud, this like gray smoke coming toward the building. Things flying through the street, things hitting the side of the building. And then all of a sudden it became dark outside. It became totally dark outside.
We are, as they say, tangled in our anchor chain. Our financial systems are decades old. According to some estimates, we cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions. We cannot track $2.3 trillion in transactions.
When DOD's own auditors say the department cannot account for $2.3 trillion in transactions in 1 year alone.
It is, I was going to say terrifying.
It's preposterous that the Defense Department doesn't know what's happened to this money.
It is,
Have you ever seen $1 trillion? Do you know what it looks like? Allow me to show you. This is $1 trillion. Each box is a representation of $100 million. Those are 3 football fields on the right. Let that sink in. And now, this is a representation of $20 trillion. Just short of the United States total debt. Who are they indebted to? How are they planning to pay this back? we can now continue to the biggest fraud in human history.
You simply flooded the system with money.
Yes, we did. That's another way to think about it. We did.
Where does it come from? Do you just print it?
We print it digitally. So we as a central bank, we have the ability to create money digitally. And we do that by buying treasury bills or bonds or other government guaranteed securities. And that actually increases the money supply.
But I think we're being very aggressive, and I think that's the right thing.
Can you characterize everything that the Fed has done this past week as essentially flooding the system with money?
Yes, exactly.
And there's no end to your ability to do that?
There is no end to our ability to do that. There is no end to our ability to do that.
What did we learn from 2008 when you were in the Treasury Department, and how is that being applied today?
Allow me to tell you what the banks have learned and how they apply it today. You see, the banking system, at its core, on a fundamental level, is an absolute fraud, a lie, a con. And I don't mean to over-exaggerate. If anything, I am unable to articulate in words the evil that is perpetrated on the world and its citizens by the banking elites, namely the Federal Reserve and the IMF.
The vast amount of money created today is done by the private banking sector. In most developed economies, about 97% of the entire money supply is created digitally by banks, and therefore most money in the world is privatized. Banks invented digital money when they managed to persuade lawmakers after many early bank runs. A bank run is an event where depositors try to get their money out all at once, but the banks don't have it. From these events, banks argued that they should be legally allowed to create more deposits than actually exist based upon debt. And this is how governments outsourced the creation of digital money. It sounds a bit complicated, but all you need to know is that when a bank issues a loan, it's not somebody else's savings. It's not money that the bank had. It's essentially brand new money that they create. They simply type it into a computer and it appears as a digital representation of the government's money which you can spend.
We have a lot of good faith based on the prowess of the U.S. printing press. I mean, the United States maintains reserve currency status.
That's
everywhere.
Fake money, though. That's not real money. That's fake money. That's $200 trillion of fake money.
Oh, you're really? I know. But it's all based on faith.
How long is it sustainable, though, to go at that pace? The argument then becomes about the taxpayer who's pissed off and saying, let me get this straight. You can constantly bail yourself out and you can constantly go print money with this quantitative easing. Why the hell do I have to pay taxes? Why do I pay taxes?
These are the seeds of social unrest in this country. You can only drive so big of a wedge between the haves and the have-nots, especially when you're gutting out the middle class in the process. The Federal Reserve monetizing the U.S. debt is what enables all of this.
This economic crisis is like a cancer. If you just wait and wait thinking this is going to go away, just like a cancer, it's going to grow and it's going to be too late. What I would say to everybody is get prepared. This is not a time right now to wishful thinking the government is going to sort things out. The governments don't rule the world. Goldman Sachs rules the world.
Of a perfect storm.
Has he got a police reform plan? Has he got a plan to cut the deficit?
Order! Miss Order! Order!
Do you trust the government?
Order! Try to calm down and behave like an adult, and if you can't, if it's beyond you, leave the chamber, get out, we'll manage without you.
Is that tax money that the Fed is spending?
It's not tax money. The banks have accounts with the Fed much the same way that you have an account in a commercial bank. So to lend to a bank, we simply use the computer to mark up the size of the account that they have with the Fed. So it's much more akin, although not exactly the same, but it's much more akin to printing money than it is to borrowing.
It's not a conspiracy theory, it's not a crackpot theory, it's the way the Bank of England describes the process. When banks make loans, they create new money.
This raised money is used to pay back the central bank loans with interest. So when governments use the central banks to bail out private banks for their risky behaviour, the governments are left with the debt, which eventually has to be paid back by the taxpayers in the future.
Can you fathom the idea that there's not $1 in the world circulation that does not have debt attached to it? Try to understand, and please, research for yourself.